Do you remember your dating years?
Have things kind of tamed down?
Do you want to rekindle the fire?
It's time to intentionally grow and thrive as a family.
Tammy Smith here from Family with Purpose, and we've been married 25 years.
But our dating life is not like it was before we got married.
Well, we still date, but it's different when you have kids.
It's different, period.
True. True.
What are some of the dates that you remember, Tammy, that we went on before we got married, particularly at Bible college?
I remember the ice cream at Shakey's. The custard at Shakey's.
Yes, custard, yeah.
I remember going to the park a lot and swinging, and I remember the picnic on the hill with KFC and the flowers that you brought
Was
me.
it KFC?
Yes.
You didn't remember that last time we talked about it.
I don't know. I guess I remember.
And I don't remember the flowers.
Oh,
but
gosh,
I do remember the picnic, and I do remember it was totally not my norm.
No, he's not very romantic.
But that's what you love to hear. Put that on video. Tell them what you really think.
But when he does make great effort, and when he does, it's pretty special.
I make great efforts. I remember when we were dating that we would go to chapel at Ozark Christian College, and we would sit alone in chapel at the Bible college late at night, and we would just talk and talk and talk. We talked about our futures. We talked about houses. We talked about how many kids we'd have. We talked about the kind of jobs we'd have because you only wanted to marry a youth pastor.
That's true.
I happened to be studying, going in to
ministry.
be a youth pastor.
Yep.
And then another one that was super romantic, probably the most romantic place, that you'll love this, the most romantic place in Joplin, Missouri was a place called the Falls. And it was a little bit away from the college. You'd have to drive there. And it was like 5-foot falls, waterfalls that would happen. And we would just go and watch it. And then occasionally, if it was warm,
I do not remember.
we would walk. And she doesn't remember. Most romantic place I ever took her to.
The waterfalls in
the
Joplin?
Falls, not waterfalls, just the Falls.
It was called the Falls.
I think so. In my head, it was. But that was 26 years ago, or 5.5, or whatever.
Wow, we should go back there and visit.
It was super romantic. You could
tell
tell I made a big
I wonder
impression.
if the falls are still there.
I thought you said you remember Jason going or something, and we did homework. Your brother?
No, Jason, your best friend. Jason
Oh, my
Levine.
Jason from a roommate.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we went, and everybody went to the falls. But if you were going to go on a date, a real romantic date,
it really made an impression on me, didn't it?
You'd go to the falls and watch the waterfall.
But then we got married, and our dates got even better.
That's true, and most of that happened because we got to have sex.
No, that's not why our dates got
I
even
think so.
better. It's because we had more time and we lived together.
That's true. But so many couples get married and their dates basically end. The relationship goes from a covenant, this undying, unending loyalty of devotion, and it turns into a contract.
And as we've learned in previous videos, when people get married, they have two boxes. The dreams, desires, and wishes box that is full of all their dreams of a house and car and how much money they'll make and the kids that they'll have.
And the white picket fence.
And the vacations and the pets and everything that they dream about will be in that box.
And the other box is the expectations box.
Yes.
And these are the things that we don't dream about anymore, but we actually expect them to happen. And the minute that a dream goes into the expectations box, the dynamic in the relationship instantly changes.
And the relationship changes from a covenant marriage to a contract marriage.
And in a contract marriage, the first two things to go are romance and intimacy. And that's not good news.
And when you settle for a contract marriage, compromising for the sake of peace, it's really just another way of managing expectations.
And it's the beginning of the probable end. Because we move our wonderful dreams, desires, and wishes into the expectations, and what happens is we move our marriage into a debt-debtor relationship.
And the result is that romance and intimacy and the stuff that makes marriage great, it all evaporates.
Another way to express these expectations is you owe me.
You're the wife, you owe me this. You're the husband, you owe me this.
And we look back at our vows and we think, dude, you said in front of your dad, blah, blah, blah.
Oh, yeah. Well, you said in front of your mom, mama's boy, blah, 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 blah.
Mama's boy.
And all that stuff you said, it ain't happening.
And now I'm holding you to it. Because in a debt-debtor relationship, there's no recognition of unconditional love. There's no room for grace. After all, if you expect something and your spouse gives it to you, how much credit do they get?
Absolutely none, because that's what you're supposed to do. It's the expectation. Don't expect me to throw you a big celebration because you did what you're supposed to do.
Yeah, you're supposed to break even at this point. That's what you're up to, right? You don't get a whole bunch of credit. You don't get credit for cleaning the house. You're supposed to do that. You're supposed to get the house clean.
Mortgage companies don't write you a long perfume love letter with chocolates. Dear Tammy, once again, we want to write to thank you for sending in your mortgage payment. Here's $100 gift card to go to Outback with your husband. We love you.
No, they don't do that. We're just fulfilling our part of the contract. It's what's expected. When there's two big me's in the marriage, it squeezes out the potential for unconditional love because love is a gift.
And the only time you get a personalized letter from a debtor is when you've missed a payment. And if you've missed enough payments, you'll get a personal phone call.
Yeah, and you don't want that.
No.
And that's what happens in some of your marriages. If you do everything right, there's peace, but not a lot of love. But if you mess up, you'll get some personalized attention, and it's almost always negative.
For instance, if your husband likes a neat home and you come home and you try really hard to get your family all put together, everything put away, but you keep this desire in the dream box and 90% of everything is put away, you are going to appreciate your spouse and kids actually for trying to fulfill that desire.
You'll come in and say, hey, way to go, guys. The house looks great. But if it's in your expectations box and you walk in and everything's done, but just a few things are out of place, there's stress and nobody feels loved and nobody feels appreciated. And there's no intimacy in that situation.
Some of you gals are dating a guy and you're dreaming together and then you get engaged.
And he says, honey, I'm going to buy you a big house and I'm going to own my own business and we're going to make lots of money and we'll have a white picket fence and 2.4 kids and it's just going to be great.
And you walk down the aisle with all those dreams thinking this is going to be awesome. But then you get married and it doesn't happen.
And she moves those dreams into the expectations box. And now she's thinking, I said I do and he said he would, but I did and he hasn't.
Where's the big house and my fence and the kids and the business that you promised? And all of a sudden, a legitimate desire turns into an expectation and things get ugly.
They get ugly quick. When two big me's are married, unconditional love and romance and intimacy, it can't be found because it's a debt-debtor relationship, all because of what's in that expectations box.
Right. Don't get us wrong. We all have legitimate God-given desires to be respected, to have a companion, to be true to each other, and to be loved.
And that's all legit expectations. But to truly experience love and intimacy, you got to keep it in the dreams box. At least these other things, they've got to be kept in that dreams box.
Everyone has dreams, desires, and wishes. But some desires, only God can fill.
But here's the thing. The minute we move desires out of the dreams, desires, and wishes box and put them on the shoulders of our spouse in the form of an expectation, everything changes.
The dynamic instantly changes. And now they owe you. Then it's all about performance instead of unconditional love.
And that's not the way God intended a marriage to work. Right. It's meant to be a covenant.
And when you keep the expectation box empty, you have a much better chance of romance and intimacy.
But it takes intentionality. You can't grow and thrive without intentionality.
And if you're not growing, you're shrinking.
And that's why we believe that over 50% of the marriages end in divorce. Why don't you make a commitment this week to intentionally invest some time in your marriage?
Maybe it's just a simple coffee date later this week. Just the two of you.
Or maybe you take your bride out to a nice dinner and get dressed up, because I don't know of a woman who doesn't like to dress up and go out.
Especially when your husband is handsome.
Or you could go for a long walk or a long drive and talk about some of your dreams and desires of the future.
You might even take some time to pray with each other about it.
The point is, invest in your family, starting with your spouse.
And if you're willing to do something special this week, post below, I'm thriving this week.
That's a great thing to post in the comments below. I'm thriving this week.
You'll be glad you did, and so will your spouse.
And always, we hope that you'll like, share, comment, and subscribe to this channel. It helps us get the word out.
And don't forget to post the I'm thriving this week below.
That's a good thing to do. So go ahead and hit that thumbs up and share this thing, because no doubt someone you know probably needs to hear it.
And take some time to be intentionally growing and thriving as a family. Do you remember your dating years?
Have things kind of tamed down?
Do you want to rekindle your
That's a little
fire?
fast.
Honey, come on.
Let me finish my sentence.
Do you want to rekindle your fire?
Let's try it again. Ready?
Barry and Tammy Smith here
Hold on.
from. My goodness.
Honey, I wasn't even. I'm
you
still
were standing
wiping myself.
perfect. No, well, we still date, but it's different when you have kids. What?
It's.
Barry and
Now, right.
and all that stuff you said, it ain't happening. Now, I'm gonna hold you to it.
It ain't Wow. That was some new information.
I know I didn't want
We'll
to
just
say
go right there.
fidelity wrong.
Madison!